ラグビーラップアップいきますよ。いいですか？はい、3、2、1、ラグビーラップアップ。
Brought to you by AFIA Sports Training, committed to developing the sporting potential of future players in the U.S., UK, and across the world. Check them out at afiasportstrg.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy at the Fantasy Sports Network studios in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan, but we are going across the pond with today's theme. We're talking rugby. We're talking specifically Munster rugby. And with me in the studio to talk a little bit about Irish rugby and connections here in the United States is Mr. Pat Tully of the Ireland Fund, and none other than Mr. Doug HOWLETT, who is calling in from Munster. It looks like he's on a ship because the camera keeps rocking back and forth over there. But Doug, welcome.
How you guys? Great to be here.
So, Doug, for the folks at home that might not know you off the bat, you had quite the rugby career. If I'm not mistaken, you were in the top 10 in rugby union tries scored. I think you were number 7. And I'm just wondering, A, who the top 6 were, and B, are you really the leading try scorer in rugby union history for the All Blacks?
Yeah, well, that's it. I'll start with that. I'm only hanging on just by my fingernails at the moment. There's a few new exceptional wingers in the All Blacks coming through at the moment. But I must say, I've held this record for 10 years now. It's about time somebody comes along and takes it. As for the other 6 that are ahead of me in the world, I couldn't tell you. But I tell you, they must have scored a good lot of tries.
Pat, you know a little bit about rugby. Does it surprise you that an All Black is all the way down as 7th on that list in terms of rugby union try scorers?
Not at all. And I know about a thimble full of rugby here and there. And my one semester of college rugby really makes me qualified to be on this program.
Absolutely.
But if there's anything that even the most casual rugby fan knows is New Zealand, that they are the world's best.
Right. So we got to go back to your career before we go back to his. What position?
To play rugby at my school was club. And if you showed up at the van on Sunday and there was a jersey there, you got on the team. So,
you're in.
Yeah.
You're in.
It was more about
your
drinking.
resume.
Yeah, it was more about having a good time afterwards. Scored a couple tries. I just dove across the line with the ball, both hands, and did what I could.
Yeah. Doug, I've also noticed you have a pretty good points per match average over the course of your career. I think it was like 4. But for historic reasons and comparing stats, do you think that we need to revisit the comparing of you guys because the scoring changed, right? You're getting five points for a try now. You're getting 2 points. Is it really?
Hey, listen, that's going back a few years now, well before my time. And, from my point of view, I had a super time as an All Black playing international rugby, traveling the world. I think all these things that come, the statistics that are coming down the line, they mean a small bit, but nothing compared to some of the memories I've had traveling the world with some of my best mates, playing against other international teams in hostile environments and neutral environments and favorable environments. And I think that's what I'll take away with me more than any record, try-scoring ability, trophy. They're the memories that stay with me and will stay with me forever.
That begs the question, what was the most hostile environment that you played in?
I guess, when you're traveling as an All Black, you're the number 1 team in the world. Everybody wants to knock you off your perch, So we've been to some great rugby environments through Australia. When we traveled into the Northern Hemisphere, I must say some of the French rugby grounds. But some of my favorite rugby grounds were in South Africa. Purpose-built, 60,000-seater stadium. For rugby. So the crowd were right on top of you, and you heard every single one of them calling for your blood, So they were some of my most hostile, but also some of my best memories of playing rugby.
You said South Africa, so I want to segue right into the Pro 14 because there are now South African teams playing in the Pro 14. And you, sir, are now at Munster, where you finished your career with 5 seasons, and you are the head of commercial and marketing department?
That's my role. Yeah, that's my role. Head of commercial and marketing at Munster Rugby. So, like you said there, I had 5 wonderful seasons playing with Munster Rugby, having finished up my international career with the All Blacks. And I came into an exceptional group of men, a lot of them Irish internationals who only the year previously I was playing against, in an international environment. But I must say, some of my best memories on a rugby field were, wearing the red of Munster.
And you've got your 3 kids over there now that are growing up there with a brogue.
Yeah, well, I've added to that at the moment. So I'm traveling with 5 little guys, and they're working on that Irish accent. It's my parents and their grandparents that I have to convince. They have to almost translate.
All right, so Pat,
Yes.
let's talk about how you're connected to this whole thing right now with the Ireland Fund.
Yes.
Right, and next week we've got an event where a bunch of the Munster folks will be in town. Why don't you explain to the folks at home what's going on there?
Sure. This is the inaugural NYC Munster Rugby Dinner, and we're helping them as a partner raise money here. So we have what we're able to do is reach out to our donors, and then for what I can do as well is add my auction expertise to them and work with Doug and work with the guys who are co-chairing the event and help them to find some great items that I know they're going to raise a lot of money at the New York Athletic Club on Tuesday night. So we're really excited to be a part of this. This is the first one, and I'm sure it's going to be such a success that we're going to hear from the other 3 provinces, and there'll be a Leinster dinner next year. There'll be a Connacht dinner, and it's gonna go on. But I think it's very exciting what they're doing for youth rugby and what they're doing for community development in Munster is something that the Ireland Funds gets behind in every province, and we are all about everything going on in the island of Ireland. Ireland bringing people together through sport, through culture, and this is a great partnership for us. It was a natural. Doug, the committee has been fantastic, led by Pat Reedy and Tony Dunn. I mean, it's amazing. They've been doing all this from New York, so I'm sure you've been feeling the love and support from the committee over here.
Yeah, Pat, that's a really good point, and there's no doubt this event wouldn't be happening without the 2 names you mentioned. And I must say a big shout out to you guys at the Island Funds in supporting us in what we're doing. As I've outlined, this is hugely important for us and the youth of Munster Rugby. And for us to dip our toe into this network wouldn't have happened without Pat, Tony, and yourself. So we really appreciate that, and we're looking forward to celebrating with you on Tuesday night.
We're looking forward to raising lots of money for you guys and for Munster Rugby. It's going to be great.
Maybe at some point we do a rugby wrap-up segment on the road in Munster, and we check in with the kids and see how things are going, and maybe learn a few things, educate ourselves, and have a good time.
It'd be a great idea. We can identify a few key players for you to keep an eye out. But more than that, I think it'll be the joy to the faces of these young kids that we'll see that will light up, smiles on everybody's face.
All right, on that note, we have to take a quick break, and we'll be back after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
Folks, if you're wondering what this thing is in my hand, rugby fun fact of the day. This is a Toshiba Brave Lupus mascot. Lupus is a disease or an illness, but it's also Latin for wolf. So there is your rugby wrap-up fun fact of the day, courtesy of the Toshiba Brave Lupus.
Rugby wrap-up!
And we are back. So, Doug, why New York City for this New York City fundraising dinner for Munster?
Yeah, well, I guess it's part of our strategic plan as Munster Rugby. And as we found in the environment as it stands at the moment with professionalism, the rugby landscape is changing. And I guess what we're trying to preserve here at Munster is what makes us special. We have a youth system, a youth rugby system that all they ever want to do is play for Munster Rugby. You know, these young players, 5, 6, 10, 12, 15, 18, all they ever want to do is play for Munster Rugby. So we're trying to preserve that. And I guess what we're finding in this professional environment is that, a lot of these guys, they're being taken away and taken to other countries and other teams. So I guess, what we're trying to retain is what makes Munster Rugby special. And that's having, our players, our homegrown talent, playing for their team. And the way we're trying to grow that is we want more and more people learning about our game, our rugby, all the life lessons that rugby brings, respecting the ref, shaking hands after the match, all these wonderful things that not only rugby but sport brings. And I guess these are the messages that we want to pass on to our youth. And what we're looking to do is to connect with our community in New York, who a lot of them would have supported Munster Rugby, grown up in Thomond Park and in Ireland. And I guess what we're asking is for them to support us on this journey of taking rugby into the Munster region and create a lifeline or a line through sport to our young athletes. And that's the thrust of our event in New York.
And Pat, you're very familiar and in tune with the Irish community here in New York and the tri-state area. You've done a number of these functions, a number of these dinners. We met at one for the Children's.
Yeah, the Children's Medical Research Foundation, which is another partner event for the Ireland Funds. And we've been so fortunate to meet so many great Irish Americans, or people of Irish descent, whatever you want to say. I'm fifth generation removed from Ireland, but there's something that
still count you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to check that off there. But people want to give, they want to reconnect to their heritage in a meaningful way by giving back. This is an excellent way to do it. And through sport, so many people understand how prominent the Irish rugby team is now on the world stage. And Ireland almost got the Rugby World Cup. They were one of the 3 finalists.
Yeah.
It was disappointing they didn't get it, but that's going to happen in the future. And that was sort of like the test round. And Ireland's going to be ready to host that one day in the future. And the Ireland Funds would love to be a part of that from a philanthropic side of things as well.
If I can interject there just for a second, although we opened talking about the All Blacks rugby team, the number 1 rugby team in the world, the number 2 rugby team in the world right now is Ireland.
Yeah.
So it's something for us all to be proud of. And I must say, the entire region, the entire country aspires and want our Irish rugby team to succeed. And a lot of this is starting at the grassroots level. We here at Munster, we're touching 180 schools, within our region. We want to grow that to sort of 220 over the next year. And that outreach for us would be, close to 35,000 kids, learning from this great game that we have, and that's what we want to achieve out of this event.
So I guess I've got to ask the obvious question is, we've got professional rugby budding here in the United States. We've got a professional team in the MLR coming into their second season in January. We've got a bunch of youth rugby going on. Any thoughts of maybe doing something here and maybe trying to get some players homegrown for your league, or maybe using the MLR in some kind of farm capacity?
Yeah, and I don't think it's any secret, that the potential in America is enormous. From our point of view, this is just a toe in the water. We want to connect with our people in the right way, and I guess tie this red ribbon, this red thread around our community that is Munster and indeed Ireland. But first step for us is to connect with our people, tell some of these stories, some of the success stories of, say, a Keith Earls, a British and Irish Lion, an Irish international coming from Moyross in Limerick, one of the toughest areas that in the country, and for him to tell his story on how he could become an Irish international is something for all of our youth within the entire country to look up to.
I think it was eye exercises that Keith Earls was using, right? He's got the eye thing going on, and he's got this resurgency going on in his career. And I think the match at Red Bull Arena against Team USA, where he just lit up the field up and down, I think that was a big turning point with those eyes. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and the rest with that guy, I'll tell you what, he's got some bionic legs and all sorts going on. So, but listen, I think, that's the story that we're trying to tell. If he can do it, there's no reason anybody else in Ireland can't.
Well, I've been working on my eyes for a long time, and it has no effect on my rugby game whatsoever. As my Maori coach said, McCarthy, you sucked last year, you sucked this year, and you'll suck next year. Get off the pitch.
Well, you know what doesn't suck is this dinner, because Doug knows very well this dinner is sold out. In fact, it's basically oversubscribed at this point. So year one is going to be a success. The pressure is on me to raise a lot more than just the ticket sales and the sponsorships in the live auction. And Doug has been a part of putting some amazing packages together. So I know we're going to be entertaining the folks with a great auction, and the Ireland funds are going to help to really deliver for Munster Rugby.
Who's coming over, Doug?
Yeah, well, it's a special year for us. It's 10 years since we won one of our European cups, the Heineken Cup at the time. So we've got some household names coming over in terms of Ronan O'Gara, Peter Stringer, Donica O'Callaghan, David Wallace, Alan Quinlan.
Wow.
To name a few. I think these guys are, they're standard bearers for Munster Rugby now. They tell the story, and, they want to spread this good news of rugby and help everybody within the island of Ireland.
Well, that's excellent. Looking forward to seeing some of these guys. Maybe we'll get them in the studio next Tuesday here. How can people find the Ireland Fund? How can they help? And how can they contribute to what's going on here?
Sure. We are online at theirelandfunds.org. You can find us on Twitter at The Ireland Funds, on Instagram at the same way at The Ireland Funds, and on Facebook at The Ireland Funds, and pick a city. We're in 8 cities around the U.S., 12 countries around the world.
Wow. Awesome. Gentlemen, we are officially out of time, but I just wanted to salute you with my John Kerwin mug. Here,
limited edition mug.
Yeah, it's the limited edition Sir John Kerwin mug. Are we going to see a Sir Doug Howlett mug that's replacing this, since you are the all-time try-scoring rugby union leader out of All Blacks?
Yeah, well, I don't know. And listen, John Kerwin was a hero of mine as I was growing up. So he inspired me to be the player I am. So hopefully, more than anything, I can do that for any young athletes coming through.
All right, well said, well said. Gentlemen, on behalf of everyone here, I want to thank you for coming on. Mr. Doug Howlett of Munster, and Mr. Pat Tully of the Ireland Fund, and of the Golden Voice and Magic Touch when it comes to auctions, folks. So you got to check them out. And we are out of time. So Matt McCarthy for Rugby Wrap Up here at the Fantasy Sports Network Studio 34 in New York City, signing off.